Welcome back. You must have inserted a haunted VHS tape, which is how you got to the review of this spooky season review of Mr. Crockett. Yes, Davy Crockett is back and he's here to murder you. Sadly, that's not what this movie's about. Just happens to be the same name. Anyway, this is on Hulu. Hulu. Ooh. I'm having way too much fun with this. It stars Jerrica Hinton. It does have audio description. She's really the only name I recognize in the cast. And the only reason I recognize it is because I'm guilty of having seen a little bit of Grey's Anatomy in my lifetime. What is Mr. Crockett? It's a random Hulu release. Like, they just kind of grabbed this and they were like, you know what? October. Bam. There we go. And some of the releases have been kind of like, Grim Cuddy. Grim Cuddy was kind of like that, where it's like, there's some stuff here. I don't know if it's all right. Matriarch kind of stuck with me a little bit more in terms of a horror movie. This one just kind of goes hard, like right from the beginning. But it also felt so much like other movies I had already seen. Like, there are elements of The Babadook in here, but there are also elements of like Come Play. So, like, there's nothing really wholly original about this. So I kind of appreciate what it's doing, but it's also like, I think other people have done this before and I think they've done it better. And all you're doing is just finding ways of being slightly more violent about doing it. Some of the creativity and the way that the audio description catches it is interesting. At least some of the way that they find to kill people, or, you know, gore, whatever, is a little interesting. But I don't know that this is plot-wise. I mean, if I tell you what it's about, you're going to be like, oh yeah, it's one of those movies. So there's a mother who has a son, and she's having a tough time raising him. He's a little bit of a handful. She's even like looking up like parenting videos on how to do this. And they find this, he gets this VHS tape, which is this like ancient children's show, and it unlocks basically the Mr. Crockett character, who's this weird, like, why would anybody ever let their kids watch this, like, children's show host from hell, basically. And dude, like, comes to life and pulls himself out of the television, and lots of weird shit happens. From there, it's basically like I don't know, Freddy Krueger coming out of, like, I'm trying, if Freddy Krueger were also Mr. Rogers. I don't know what else to say about that. It's very weird. It's a very weird movie. It's very odd. It's not really, well, it is, it goes for jump scares. I'll give you that. It does go for jump scares. It's got one right at the end. It has like a really cheap jump scare right before you leave the movie. Like, I could see people trying to like get up and like leave the theater and like be like, what the fuck? There's a jump scare at the literal end of the movie. Like, the movie's over and then it jump scares you. I'm like, fuck you. That's not even like part of the movie. They're like about to roll credits and it's just like, ah! You're like, god damn it. So it's one of those movies, but it's still one of those like mother child. The child is not, like, these kids are like never perfect. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, these kids are like never just like regular kids. It's always like a mother with a kid that's got some like sort of social issue. some sort of like psychological development issue, like something. It's always like a mother that's trying to figure the kid out, whether the kid is like autistic and doesn't speak and talks through technology, like in Come Play, or the Babadook, where the kid, I don't even know how to like describe the kid, the Babadook, way too much energy, you know? So it's like it's like something like that. And then in this film, this kid basically is, like, he doesn't really listen. He just kind of does what he wants. And there's a moment where they're like, you show them, they're seeing like sort of like struggling with money, you know, like their money struggles. And of course he breaks his game console thing. And she's like, do you know how much money that, and he's like, I don't care. It's like, I don't know, this kid, you know. So, and the movie builds, and it's like the fighting of control over this kid between the mom and this demonish character that came out of the TV screen. And it's like, I mean, I guess you could like look at this on like another level and be like, isn't this the fight that all parents have with TV screens? Like for control of their kid, like their kid just wants to watch TV and they're like, no, give me my kid back, you TV. You damn television. So, the gore's moderately high. It's not Terrifier, but I mean, there's some stuff that happens here where I think people will be like, oh, well, that's a lot. So it's a little bit more than you would think from like a random Hulu movie. But a lot of times these random Hulu movies are made by people who are really trying to break into horror. So the way that they do that is by being like, oh, hey, Gore, we've got it. We know how to do that. So Appendage, you know, stuff like that. I'm trying to think of like all the little like horror movies that Hulu has dropped over the years. This is like this. This is, I don't know that this is necessarily going to break out and stand out above the rest. It's better than some, but there are others that are better than it. So, it gets points for, I'm going to say again, going hard. That's the best thing I can say, is that it absolutely doesn't really hold back. And it tries to really turn him into like this nightmarish figure that, you know, I mean, theoretically could have spawned a franchise. Like, I could see Mr. Crockett sequels if this thing ever caught on, but it's not going to catch on because nothing ever catches on anymore on streaming. So it's really hard to ever think that there's going to be like a Mr. Crockett 2 or Mr. Crockett Returns, or, you know, the days of spawning another Freddy Krueger or Jason Voorhees are just gone. It's not, you just don't see that anymore. So, yeah, the audio description, again, I thought it did a pretty good job with the gore. Jerkahin does fine. I'm not gonna tell you not to watch this, but again, I can list, I mean, when I'm already listing better films, like the Babadook is definitely, I mean, that's like a horror classic, and Come Play is a better movie than this. So, I can list two movies that are almost exactly the same as this. And that was just without, I didn't even put thought into that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just, I'm sure I could find more examples, but that's just a little bit. That was just like a quick thought of, well, immediately those are the two that come to mind. So, it doesn't necessarily get points for originality. The guy playing Mr. Crockett he's going hard in the paint though. Absolutely. He gets props for performance, because basically I think like the characters in like Babadook and Come Play are basically like limited in dialogue, and this guy gets to speak, so he gets a little bit more of that Freddy Krueger thing where there's actual like dialogue that's given to him instead of like Babadook. You know? That's not dialogue. You just know how to say your name, like it's like the basic foundation of life. So yeah, this guy can continue. This guy can have full conversations. So, it's got like a 5 point something on IMDb, and I noticed like Metacritic score is nothing. So, at least at the time I'm reviewing this anyway. So, it feels right. It's got that kind of vibes to it. So, I'm gonna lean like slightly positive because I think there are enough scares here, and sort of like with Smile. It's like Smile annoyed me with like the jump scares, but it's effective at least sometimes. But it does get a little relentlessly annoying when like there's a point, like you can do a certain amount of them, and then there's a point where you just get pissed off and you're like, this isn't a movie anymore. there's no craft here. Like, you could pretty much make a jump scare out of anything, and it's just that they're cheap, you know what I'm saying? Like, loud noises, all of a sudden drop the sound out and make a loud noise. It doesn't even have to be related to a scare or anything. It's just boom, shit, you know. So I'm gonna give Mr. Crockett, Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier. I would watch that movie, like a horror movie of David Crockett. Who are the people that are making all these like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey movies, and the Steamboat Willie one? What was that movie called? The Mousetrap. Why can't they make it like a horror movie out of Davy Crockett? Davy Crockett, killer at the wild frontier. He's coming for you. Be like In a Violent Nature, but like there's like a legend behind it. Have you heard about Davy Crockett? Don't you dare step into his woods. He's gonna come at you with his coonskin cap. Anyway, I'm way off on a tangent. C+. This is a C+ film. I like having fun. We have fun. It's like a C. Yeah, it's I would say like slightly above average, but also pales in comparison to things that came before it. So, congratulations on being derivative. Good job. I should say, like, there is like a woman who like warns them, but I feel like there's always like a woman who warns somebody in these films. There's always somebody who's like, don't do it. You know, like, I used to have a family too. Like, all right, weirdo. Maybe I wouldn't have opened with the opening scene like this does here and built more into it. But, you know, I think the opening scene is what sets it apart from some of the other films too, is the fact that this does go hard, so that way, you know, straight up, you're like, oh, well, this is going to go for it. They're not playing around. So, I don't know. There's to each their own, I guess. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I will see you guys on the other side.